I get it. Staying focused is really difficult. I've struggled with this over the last few years myself, trying to get in the zone and focus on the right stuff and move the needle forward on the things that matter in life most to me. There have been so many things pulling at my attention, my emotions, my desires over the last few years, and I've had to really put some practices into place to help keep me on track. And so in this video, I want to share with you 5 practices that I'm working on implementing and have been doing for the last few years. It's a continual process so that maybe it helps you stay focused on what matters to you. Practice number 1, essentialism. It is so important to be clear on what is essential for you in your life. As I get older, there are more things that demand my time and attention, and especially as someone who has a lot of varied interests and skill sets across a very dispersed map of areas, these things don't always line up in the same direction. And so I have to be very careful on what I take on in my life. And one way that I do this is just to try to every year at least get really clear on what are my main objectives. I do an annual planning process called a yearly theme, which kind of lets me set, this is the big area that I want to focus on in my life. This year is all about stewardship. How do I steward my health, my finances, my family, my community, and invest in those things? And I have intentioned myself in different areas to be able to develop stewardship. This is all stemming from this idea of essentialism, which is a book by Greg McKeown, and an idea that says there are so many things that can pull us 1,000 different directions, but if you could focus your efforts in the smallest number of paths as possible, you'll get the most amount of impact in those areas if you can focus on that. And so for me to stay focused, I have to be really, really clear on what is essential to me. And I will be upfront with you. This is not just about work. This is not just about effective. This is about my family and about my life and the big holistic picture. And when I am clear on that, it's so much easier for me to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. Focus practice number 2 is planning my day. Yes. There's 1,000 different ways you can plan your day, and pick one of them. You can time block, you can do your eat the frog, you can do your top 3 most important tasks for the day. I've done them all. I flip in and out of them depending on the week and how I'm feeling. The fact is that I have a toolbox of strategies on how to plan my day that I can pull from that helps me get going in the direction that I've determined is essential in that first focus practice. So whatever your day looks like, it really helps to have some kind of a plan, whether it's a full-on time box day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, or it's just a couple of things that you want to make sure you get done that day to help keep moving the needle forward in the direction that makes the sense to you. So for me, my weekly plan includes hitting the gym a couple of times, but my daily plan typically is a couple of tasks that I want to get done and maybe slotting that into my calendar in the midst of all the other meetings that I have. Focus practice number 3 is more of a mindset than it is a practical tip, but it's approaching your phone as a tool instead of a gateway. We tend to have this nonchalant relationship with our phones where we can just pick it up and browse wherever we want, answer any question that we have, really at the drop of a hat. But this tends to backfire on us. How many times have you picked up your phone first thing in the morning and just realized that your brain is just shot? Every time I do this, my day starts off in the wrong mentality. And it's because I tend to look at my phone as a way to feed me information and stimulation, as a gateway to stimulation and entertainment, versus a tool that has a specific purpose and use in my day. One way that I've approached this in the past that I've gone away from recently is by completely removing a web browser from my phone. I'm restricted to specific types of apps. I don't have social media on my phone. And when I don't have a web browser, then I can't just willy-nilly answer any question or research any topic that I want to research at any given moment. I have to be more thoughtful about it, write it down to be able to come back to it later, or things of that sort. I've also unloaded certain tasks off of my phone and onto paper systems or whiteboards or things of that sort. So things like writing down notes for the day or writing down tasks for the day. It goes in a bullet journal notebook. I may load those into a task system later, but I don't live and work off of my phone with those lists in the moment. Focus practice number 4 is all about getting it out of your head. Getting Things Done has a practice for this called a mind sweep or a brain dump. You can journal, whatever it looks like. If there's stuff that you're thinking about, write it down somewhere. It doesn't matter how you approach it, but just the practice of getting it out of your head, put it somewhere. It can literally be on a legal pad that you're going to throw away after you write it down. But sometimes just the fact of writing it down allows your brain to put a pin in it so that it's not just chewing on it constantly. I find this practice really helpful if I have a lot of stressful things going on or a lot of extra stuff that I'm trying to sort through and my brain isn't just making sense of it. Your brain starts to interact with that external surface as a sort of extension of itself, and it allows it to piece those pieces of information together more easily. So get it out of your head if you're having trouble. If you're feeling distracted, it might be time to just take a moment to process and think through and write it down. And the last tip, number 5 here, focus practice number 5, is to just take a break. I used to do software development, and something that has really stuck with me since then is if I'm hammering on a problem that I don't know how to solve, sometimes I'll get 60% of the way and then get stuck and nothing that I will do works. But sometimes if I take a break, go for a walk for a half an hour, go get a cup of coffee, go downstairs and see my kids, or go see a coworker at the office for a couple minutes and just chat about something else, when I come back to that problem, my brain has had time to subconsciously process on it, and the solution is almost always apparent, or it comes in very easily within a few minutes of starting work on that problem again. This isn't just applicable to software development, but really any kind of big problem that we're trying to work on. Sometimes getting out of the work environment and getting somewhere else can allow us to be more creative or to really deepen our focus. Chris Bailey's book, Hyperfocus, talks about this process. Like, hyperfocus is when all of your attentional space in your brain is focused on one thing, which is when you're really hammering on that problem. The opposite of that is scatter focus. Scatter focus is when your brain and your mind just kind of wanders. You do this in the shower, you do this when you're falling asleep and when you're sleeping and dreaming. You do this when you're just journaling things out or writing and just letting your brain go from thing to thing to thing to thing. When you give your mind space in this scatter focus mindset, give it a break, it can process through all the inputs that it's not able to process through when it's hyper-focusing or single focusing on a specific problem or idea. And these can lead to the breakthroughs that you need. So sometimes in order to get more focus, you have to defocus for a little bit of time and take a break. These 5 things have really helped me when I do them consistently to stay focused on what matters to me and what's most important. Another really big factor that plays into this as well is organization. Sometimes the way that you think through the projects and tasks and work that you have and the organizational practices can really help you focus on what matters. I've been thinking about a new process for this, and if you're interested in learning more about that and how to implement it, check out this video over here.